Hey there, ladies. Are you anticipating the next chapter of your life? Have you gotten to a point where you're looking for something else, a new challenge? You have a dream that you've been putting off for years? Whatever it is, before we get into the details of how to pursue that dream or how to get to the next stage, we have something to talk about, and it's a big one. That's what we're doing today. You're alive. Oh, look. Today we're talking about big, bad imposter syndrome. Even the most confident of us has had that moment of question where we're thinking, what are we doing? No one's going to believe this. No one's going to buy whatever it is we're selling. No one's going to listen to us. No one's going to applaud. No one's going to be handing over thousands of dollars or millions of dollars, right? We have that moment where we feel like a big, giant phony. Not today, ladies. Today, we're going to go over 4 ways you can beat imposter syndrome. You ready? Number 1, imagine the audience naked. No, I don't literally mean imagine the audience naked, but for a long time, that was valuable advice for people who are getting up on stage, right? People would say, oh, when you're up on stage, don't get nervous. Just imagine everyone watching you naked. I don't know how that was supposed to make you less nervous. Anyway, but if you are doing something extraordinary, if your dreams mean that you are doing something that 80% of the population isn't able to do, keep that in mind, right? That is powerful. Whenever I would get nervous when I was about to go on stage and do some speaking, I thought about the 2 greatest fears that most adults have: death and public speaking. And as I would look out on that audience, I wouldn't imagine them naked. I would imagine them thinking, oh God, I couldn't do that. And that's the same thing you need to do when you're pursuing this incredible dream of yours. And you get that little naggy voice in the back going, you can't do this. You're not good enough. You start feeling like an imposter. You need to keep in mind that most of those people, including that voice in your head, can't do it. Won't do it. Can't get over their fears to do it. If you are putting yourself out there, if you're pursuing that dream, you've done something they can't. And that is incredibly empowering. Number 2, recognize the voice in your head. Give it a name. And then duct tape its mouth shut. Every time I'm about to do a video, every time I'm about to post to social media and put something out there in the public, I have this relative of mine who I imagine her crossing her arms as she reads it going, what does she know? She knows nothing. She's talking like she knows stuff. And because I've named her, because I associate her with this relative, this little voice in my head, I can get past it. Because I can also think about, that's just her opinion. So now instead of it being my opinion and my self-doubt, I've broadcast it onto somebody else. It's easier for me to walk away from somebody else. I'm pretty good at that. But when it's your own head, you for some reason begin to think, oh, this is my gut telling me this. My gut is saying I'm not ready. My gut is saying I don't know what I'm talking about. And when you feel like it's internal and we're told constantly to listen to our internal thoughts, follow your heart, listen to your gut. People always say that. Deep down, you know the answer. So when you have these doubts, and they're coming from inside you, not from some critic on Facebook, you're like, yikes, I should listen to myself. Nobody knows me better than me. And if I'm telling myself that I don't know what I'm doing, and I am misguided, and this is all a bunch of hooey, then you've just given that voice an incredible amount of power that voice doesn't deserve. That voice is just the other side of the coin. There's this shiny side of you that's like, I can do it. I'm ready. This is the best ever. I'm going to be famous. I'm going to be rich. I'm going to be happy. Whatever it is that you've hung on that dream, other side of that. Good can't exist without evil. Happiness can't exist without sadness. Your shiny, awesome dream can't exist without that little voice going, am I doing it right? And I don't care who you speak to. I don't care if you're talking to women, to men, to presidents of the United States, or someone living on the streets. Everyone struggles with doubt, even if it's a millisecond worth of doubt. But the problem is, because it comes from internally, we tend to give it more value. We think, my gut is telling me this isn't right. And that doesn't do us a whole lot of good. So project if you need to, give it a name, call it Millie, I don't care. But when you can take it out of your mind, then you can cast it away a whole lot easier. Number 3, look in your rearview mirror. I know people tell you all the time, you should be looking forward, don't look backwards. But the reason you look backwards is this: it can instill incredible confidence in you. If you're dealing with imposter syndrome, if you're not sure if you can even do the next thing that's on your checklist, you can't pursue this ultimate dream that you've had that you've been putting off for years, you need to look in the rearview mirror and you need to see where you came from. Maybe you came from abject poverty or a very difficult childhood. Where are you now? Even if you're not where you want to be, you're probably better off than where you came from. If, on the other hand, you feel like you're in a position where you completely screwed up and you've bottomed out and you're like, oh, I came from a great place and now I'm in a terrible one. Well, you know what? Waves and troughs, ladies. Waves and troughs. You can be riding high, you're going to be going low sometimes. And when that happens, you know that that next wave is going to bring you up again. So if you're in a position, if you're looking in the rearview mirror and you're like, wow, that was so much better than where I am now, that's okay. Guess what? That means you're on the uptick. So the next time you're dealing with imposter syndrome, look in the rearview mirror. See where you've come from. Write it down if you need to. Put it on a note card and stick it on your mirror so you see it every morning when you get ready. Write it in lipstick on your mirror. That works too. The point is, you have an origin story. You've overcome some difficulties. You're obviously not where you want to be, and that's okay. But what you've come through has made you who you are. Your past is your armor for your future battle. So take a little moment. See where you've come from. See the things that you've faced. And give yourself a pat on the back for doing it. Even if you're in the middle of it, even if you feel like you're worse off now than you were before, give yourself a pat on the back because you're still here and you're still dreaming and you're still doing. You're going to get there. Number 4, you want to beat imposter syndrome? You need to wait it out. What does that mean exactly? You feel like an imposter right now? 5 minutes from now, you might not feel like an imposter. 10 minutes from now, a day from now. What is true is this: nothing is permanent. Even the way we feel about being an imposter. Now, you may feel like, oh, I always feel that way. Maybe so. But I bet if you set an alarm in the middle of the day to go off randomly, and when that alarm goes off, you hear it and ask yourself, was I feeling like an imposter right then? At that moment when that alarm went off? I mean, yes, you may remember what the alarm is for and you may think, oh, I'm an imposter because you hear that alarm. But be honest about where you were at that moment. At that moment, were you thinking, oh, I'm an imposter, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough? No. It all passes. If you are really down in the dumps right now about feeling like an imposter, know that it's going to subside. And you need to find something that you're really good at that moment. Even if that something is just coloring an adult coloring page and knowing you can stay in the lines or not stay in the lines, but knowing that you can do something well and just biding your time. Listen to what that imposter says, Put the duct tape on the imposter's face and move on. And if you can't move on, just stay there and know that it'll pass. In the same way that you might look out the window when there's a terrible storm, knowing that that storm is going to end eventually. And it looks really terrible while it's going on, but you just have to wait it out. And after it passes, you can get on with things. Any emotion you have at any time will subside. Now, that's kind of a sad way to look at it if it's a really happy emotion, but we don't perpetually hold on to any given emotions forever and ever. That's what I have for you today, because that's the beginning. That's the very first step on the road to pursuing your dreams. It's getting past yourself. As Teddy Roosevelt said, and I'm totally paraphrasing, I'm going to butcher the quote, but he said, if we could find the person who is behind most of our problems and kick him in the rear, we wouldn't be able to sit for days. Again, terrible paraphrasing, but you can look up the quote and see what it was exactly. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, we'll be back again next week. So give me a subscribe, and that way you'll be notified when the video posts. See you later. Keep working on those dreams.